Welcome back to another issue. I'm Beastie Boy.
I'm Table.
I'm Red.
And it is I, Shino Brando.
And for this issue, in celebration of the anime adaptation of Part 6, we take a trip through Araki's bizarre adventures.
Before we get into the bizarre adventure itself, let's talk about Araki. Hirohiko Araki, born June 7th, 1960. He's best known for his long-running series JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, which started publication in Weekly Shonen Jump in 1987. To date, the manga has sold over 100 million copies in Japan by itself. The series and Araki himself are influenced by and make frequent references to Western rock music, fashion, and the country of Italy, all of which Araki is deeply in love with. His youth was spent in Sendai, Japan with his family. He has a set of twin sisters, both of which he said were super annoying. And so he spent a lot of his time locked up in his room reading manga just to kind of get away from the family. His favorite one being Ai to Makoto. He cites this as a big inspiration to getting into manga, along with his father's art books and works by French artist Paul Gauguin. They were his big motives for getting into manga itself. After getting praise from one of his friends for one of the mangas he drew during his time in school, he began to secretly draw manga behind his parents' backs because being a mangaka at the time was a frowned upon profession. He started submitting work to magazines in his first year of high school. Everything he submitted was rejected, although his peers seemed to be getting high praise and getting work. Araki decided to find out why he wasn't making a spark, and so he took a trip down to Tokyo itself to confront the publishers face to face and brought a manga he worked on all night previous as a sample of his work. The editor, who he confronted, criticized his work, commented on his potential and to clean up his line work and his ink work for the Tezuka Awards that were coming up around that time. It was an award for new artists, new mangaka, and new stories that were being published at the time. The manga that he submitted was Poker Under Arms, which would be nominated and chosen as a selected work. He left university to become a full-time mangaka. He would work on a few titles before JoJo, such as Cool Shock BT, which is about a young magician who solved crimes, and Bao, a story about a man who has a parasite implanted in him and his fight against the evil organization responsible. This manga would debut Araki's signature level of gore. It became a top-selling OVA in 1989, getting a North American dub in 1990, but wasn't released until 2002. His work on another project, Gorgeous Irene, would spark the birth of his unique art style, would lean into 1987's JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. On the creation of JoJo, Araki cited that Fist of the North Star was his main source of storytelling. He didn't want his fights to be simple and wanted situations with high stakes. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure was Araki's one attempt to mash sci-fi, supernatural, kung fu, music, and fashion into one big gumbo, and it kind of worked. To let you guys know, he is now hitting about 61 years old with no signs of slowing down or aging. Clearly still at it. He also clearly seems to be practicing Hamon because he's just ageless. His female fan base, because of his high fashion tastes and incredible good looks, they often refer to him as most beautiful man. And that, my friends, is Hirohiko Araki.
When you're unproblematic and just a good person, you really do age like fine wine.
It also speaks volumes. Like, I know in Japan, the bits and pieces of this franchise that I've absorbed are that because of Araki's like high sense of fashion, the JoJo property and IP cross over with like high fashion brands. And so you get like suit jackets and full suits modeled after the characters.
He's had some steady work working with Gucci over the years. He's done some designs for them, and they've wanted him to use his own artwork to display their samples. So he's drawn Gucci wear on JoJo characters, and he's even got a whole exhibit to it in a museum down there. And well, yeah. Let's start this journey. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. The manga, Phantom Blood, starts in Weekly Shonen Jump, began in January 1st, 1987 to October 26th, 1987. And because it's such a short story and it gets often smashed with its sequel, Battle Tendency, that one started in November 2nd, 1987 to March 20th, 1989. Their animes were mushed into one whole season, and that came out October 6th, 2012 to April 6th, 2013. So, Beastie, what is Phantom Blood? What is Battle Tendency?
So Phantom Blood, what had happened is that a mysterious meteorite had landed roughly in the place of Greenland around 50,000 BC. Of someone who we'll mention later on, one of the prehistoric humans named Kars had created a stone mask from this meteorite, which basically was a tool that helped the Pillarman and himself basically withstand sunlight, which is going to be a reason for later on. But they basically, started turning into vampires instead. So,
side effect.
Can I ask if there's any kind of logic behind the naming of a prehistoric man Kars?
It is spelled with Kars, so not like the car itself. And I don't know
that's
why.
I was just wondering, like, maybe he's got precognition and was like, one day there will be vehicles. They will be called cars. I want to be like that.
It's one of those funny things where it's like, because, you know, the Japanese, they can use any kind of media for naming conventions. And so we could use band names. So Cars was named Cars because of the band name Cars. But then they spell it with a K instead. And that will be a trend throughout this whole thing.
But we fast forward still into Phantom Blood with meeting the young and kind of privileged Jonathan Joestar and his dad, George Joestars, where in the story, he adopts a young Dio Brando because of an incident that had happened with Jonathan's family, with Dario Brando, who is Dio's dad, who's actually a real dick in the anime, nonetheless.
Super big dick. Fuck that guy.
In the later years dies, and then, you know, Jonathan and Dio, they grow up together in the same household for years and grow to find very buff, strong men.
Yeah. So George Joestar is like on his deathbed, kinda, and so Dio's dad like saves him, kinda, and so he's just like, I owe you one, and he's like, anytime you need something, don't matter what it is, you just knock on my door and I give it to you. And so that kind of happened where he just like, I need, like, it's pretty much he wrote him something like a last will testament, whatever you need, I hook it up. He sent Dio off to the Joestar estate, and Dio passed the note on. He's just like, yo, you owe me one, so take care of my kids because I'm dead. And that's how he ended up in that house.
So jumping into battle tendency, part of the story, just a little bit before we meet the initial JoJo of this timeline, Speedwagon has striked oil in America and he becomes wealthy. So Speedwagon is a character that is somehow becomes friends with Jonathan in the beginning, just because, you know, he was going to fight him. And then he's just like, you know what? I dig you, man. Let's be homies.
Yeah, which become a running gag in JoJo. So once you beat an enemy, they become your friend.
But yeah, so Speedwagon, as like I mentioned, had become wealthy from finding this oil. This is how we get his own foundation being built called the Speedwagon Foundation. And once we finally meet the next JoJo of this timeline, which is Joseph Joestar. So we meet Joseph Joestar, the more wild, rambunctious one, but very naturally talented young boy who basically, you know, he, in this portion, it'll be something I guess mentioned if you watch later on, but he has the natural ability of Haman, which is the power abilities in part 1 and 2, but he doesn't have the proper control for it as well.
Yeah. So to explain what Haman is, basically, it's literally tapping into one's like kind of like energy that's connected to the sun. It's an ancient art style that we kind of, like humans kind of picked up on because of the meteorite that crash landed on Earth. It's all connected together. And so I don't want to jump into it too much, but like it does explain itself as you read or watch it. And I do encourage you to read manga.
Before you jump forward, I got a question for you. You've introduced Jonathan Joestar and then Joseph Joestar, okay? Familial name, how are they related?
Jonathan is the grandfather to Joseph. So I think the in-between person who the dad was to Joseph was
George Jr.
There we go, thank you. So in this point where we meet Joseph, what the main issue is that he meets this one ally from the previous part named Strizo, who was helping Jonathan with a certain situation, but then, you know, he's told about the other special people that we mentioned, so the Pillar Men.
Prepare to be uncomfortable.
We're warned ahead of time that the Pillar Men are just very weird and not for any reason, just design choice.
Hey man, they're wearing little boots and loincloth, and that is all that's needed. So depending on the crowd, you can either be really, really uncomfortable or probably aroused. And if you're both, that's okay too.
This is what the Pillar Men look like. Very buff boys. I don't know what
y'all were talking about boy bands earlier when we were looking at the full JoJo lineup. I think the Pillar Men are the real boy band.
They are. And you know what's funny, Table? Every time they're in the scene, they rock the best poses every fucking time.
The strongest and toughest boy band in life.
Ever.
Good lord.
So the Pillar Men, right? We have Cars. We have AC/DC.
AC/DC. You can't say AC, but it's AC/DC.
This, I think the spelling was a little bit different too. Like, can't remember what it was.
Yeah.
AC/DC, got it. Yeah.
EISI. Yeah.
And so our third man, what's his name?
Amu.
Yeah, that's less fun, but okay.
There's also a fourth one who makes the first encounter. Antenna.
That is the main gist of Battle Tendency and also Phantom Blood. Dio's character is interesting for me in part 1.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does he wear pants in part 1? Because my understanding of the Dio pants situation is that it's rapidly de-escalating.
No, he wears pants.
They happen to get lower on the hips every time.
I guess I'll take that because I have no choice. Alternative is loincloths.
For me, standouts are the chase for the final battle between Dio and Jonathan. The entire night, Jonathan takes one battle after another with Dio's henchmen, which I think is badass because I don't think there's any other JoJo who's ever done that, who's done a gauntlet where he's taken on one person after another person in a span of like 2 hours and, like, you know, confront the big bad at the same time. You're nuts. And for battle tendency, man, Caesar Zappelli, because we weren't worthy of Caesar Zappelli. We didn't deserve him. We didn't deserve him. Oh, Caesar.
Caesar is one of the best supporting boys that you'll see in the lineups.
Wait.
So.
That'll be the end of battle tendency. And that'll take us off to part 3. Part 3 being the big one that blew up for Araki. This one would be Stardust Crusaders. Manga started back in March 3rd, 1989 to April 14th, 1992. Again, in Weekly Shonen Jump. The anime was then adapted and came out April 5th, 2014 to June 20th, 2015. Easty, what is Stardust Crusaders?
So this is where we find out that the new powers are stand users, or basically stands. So basically, it's like, I guess, someone's internal fighting spirit. Yeah, that's like as best as a explanation.
Good. Yeah, that's a pretty good explanation there for you.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the reason why they're called stands, and you guys, I don't know if you guys are ready for this, but it's nothing incredible. It's a really, really lame explanation. The reason why they're called stands is because their fighting spirit is always standing by your side.
Oh yeah,
that's like some friendship will save you shit.
That's like one part Care Bear stare, the other part, and it's the friends we made along the way.
So, start our journey, man.
Stardust Crusaders is obviously, like I mentioned, where we are introduced to stands, and Hamon obviously has got kind of swapped out, but it is still like a power focus here and there in the series, but not as hard as it was before.
I got reason for that. So, reason for that was because Araki now wanted to change his manga format from being just the average kung fu, fighting shonen, to something a bit more different. So, he wanted to still have the idea of combat in there, but it was take it a step further and different and be outside the box and make the fights, again, difficult to win. So instead of having the person have fist-to-fist fights, it became down a test of wills and test of knowledge, test of might. It became more than just fist-to-fist. It became a battle of pretty much chess.
I got a question. Is this the season with the dog?
Yes, this is Iggy, the best boy.
To explain more of Stardust Crusaders, this is where we meet many of the characters along the way, such as best boy Muhammad Abdul, my boy. But yeah, he encounters an enemy from the past, but he is luckily able to get away from that. And this is where we also meet the next JoJo in the storyline, Jotaro Cujoh.
Now, the reason why his name is JoJo, you get it? Because his first name is Jotaro, his last name is Cujoh. So the nickname is JoJo.
Yeah, so they play with the names.
So Joseph had a daughter, Ali, and she moved to Japan, and she met a Japanese guy. I can't remember his name. What's his first name again? I can't remember for the life of me now. They mentioned like once, and that's pretty much it. But he's a traveling musician, so he's never really home. And yeah.
So Holly and some bard got together and made Jotaro.
Yeah, exactly. Basically, couldn't have said any better than that. Yeah.
Yeah, so when we meet Jotaro, this is when we see stands actually becoming a thing. Also, at the same time, his mom also develops a stand, but like we mentioned, Holly, she's not able to control it, mostly due to not having the fighting spirit.
Yeah, Holly's not violent in any way. She's just really kind-hearted, so since her stand is kind of a violence-dependent kind of stand, she's not a fighter, it's just draining her life force and killing her.
This starts the adventure of finding a mysterious enemy stand user, so then they could also help Holly and recover, but also bring him down, mostly because of his connection to the Joestar bloodline. And this is where we also see the crew building up slowly, with members as, like we mentioned, Iggy, Paul Neref, and Kakyoin, and then as well Adal, who's already part of the crew. And they set out on their journey to fight many stand users along the way.
So many.
Is this the one where all of the enemies they fight have the tarot card names?
Yes.
Okay.
So in the beginning, in the first half, you confront the tarot cards stand users, but because popularity is popularity, and he had to write more stuff in there, you can slowly see the stand user names go from tarot cards to straight out just band names and band members or whatever it was. It didn't really matter at some point. So all right, so that takes us to the next one, which would be part 4, Diamond is Unbreakable, which started in April 21st, 1992, ended November 13th, 1995. The anime was then produced and brought out April 2nd, 2016, and ended Christmas Eve, December 24th, 2016. And so, Beastie, what's Diamond is Unbreakable?
Diamond is really unbreakable. So this is where we get to have more of the adventures with at least Jotaro, but we meet another JoJo member here.
Boy, here we go.
Jotaro arrives in the little town of Morio, the late 1990s. The other name that's also mentioned with this city, the town, is called Duang, which is why the part 4 group is going to be called, I think, the Duang Gang? This is where we meet the next JoJo, which is Josuke Higashikata. There
And
we
so for this name now, the
Mhm.
JoJo, this is last name is Higashikata. In fact, the way it's written like on paper, it would have the connotation for Joe. So you can actually just call him Joe.
But yes, so by the way, Josuke is
Yeah.
Jotaro's uncle, Jotaro's teenage uncle. But how it works is that Joseph, that we met in part 2, basically he was an idiot, but he did the dirty with Tomoko Higashikata, who
That's
is
right.
obviously Josuke's mom, making Josuke Joseph's direct son, Holly the half sister, and obviously Jotaro the nephew. To continue on of part 4, this is also where we get mentions of the stand arrow, which is also mentioned in part 3. But it's brought into part 4 as the main artifact for the story, and we get to meet both boys, Josuke, named Okuyasu and Koichi, and they ironically both gain stand powers as well because of this arrow. It is divided into a few points, like finding Okuyasu's brother's killer, meeting best husbando for Red, Rohan, a mega artist in the town, a kid named Shigechi. The full name, we can throw it up on the screen because it's full name, but the nickname is Shigechi. But from there, deal also with the overall main villain, Kira Yoshikage, a serial killer in the town.
Before we go forward, though, any standouts in part 3 and part 4 for you?
Part 3, you know what? Not to spoil it, but just an earlier part, I guess, would have been Avdol. Just because Avdol is like, I think he's one of the, not first person of color, but like he's the first person of color that's on the team.
But yeah, but Smokey's different. That's not, Smokey's just there. And it's cool, like what happens to Smokey in the end of everything, right? But like, no, when it comes down to like teamwork, I know what you mean. Like Avdol having some kind of prominence, being a person of color, prominence on this team. He did his work when he's on that team too. Like he did a lot of shit.
Avdol is the best homeboy of that group.
I don't
really care about Kakyoin being like best boy for Jotaro, but like Avdol was he was your man.
That's right.
Like,
feel like anything from part 4?
Honestly, mostly Josuke. Josuke's best boy.
Josuke. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
So he's designed after Prince.
Yep.
Oh yeah, he
I
is.
feel like that was obvious. Yes.
Standouts for me, part 3 being the last half of the Egypt saga. It was the best part of that whole thing. And part 4 was like the final episodes, man, of trying to catch that bastard. That rat bastard's a rat bastard.
I love this dude with like his crimped hair. I like his design a whole heck of a lot.
Everybody loves Kira Yoshikage. Everybody. He constantly ranks out as like the top favorite villain in all JoJo's. And that's over Dio.
Legit human monsters just hit different.
Yeah, man, he's a fucking creep, bro. You know what I mean? He had targets. You know what I mean? He had a certain affinity for a certain look that he'd go after. You know what I mean? He was sick, bro. When it comes to villains, he kind of ranks. Yeah, he ranks, man. He ranks up high. So part 5 it is. So part 5, known as Golden Wind, manga started in November 28th, 1995, ended April 5th, 1999. The anime was October 6th, 2018 to July 28th, 2019. It would be the last anime we had it for a while. And this one stars Giorno Giovanna, and that would be Gio. And so, Beastie, what's Golden Wind?
Golden Wind, or Vento Reo, as the other anime name that it's been given, is basically happens not much later from part 4. Yeah, so Diamonds Unbreakable. But basically around the timeline of this is in 2001, we're introduced with the Passione gang, which is the most illest gang of them all.
Strike a pose right now.
This squad is like, honestly, like, there's no one that you can hate. They're just like all really interesting. Not even hate, sorry, but like, not have a favorite per se.
I don't know, man. I had a favorite out of the Passione gang, bro.
As I mentioned, Passione gang is what introduced, but what the whole, I guess, kind of storyline for this is that people in like the members of the Passione gang get wind that the mafia boss has a daughter named Trish, who will be in the anime like very early on and will be kind of used as the main plot portion of this as well.
In a sense, I mean, you have to keep in mind that Giorno's initial wish was to join in the gang to break it from the inside, to stop him from dealing drugs on the streets.
Yeah, that's where I was gonna kind of lead up to that, but this is obviously how that happens, right? So basically, people were deciding to hunt for Trish so they can use her as leverage against the boss and overthrow the boss so they can, become the next leader. But later on in the story, we see Giorno Giovanna. Giorno Giovanna is introduced to the story and is the next JoJo of this storyline. He attempts to join the gang to overthrow the mafia boss, but as Shino mentioned, more so to keep drugs out of the street and, be the wholesome mafia leader. Be like, hey, I handle the business, have kids, grow up healthy and go from there. From here as well, he meets Bruno Bucciarati, who's best waifu. No husband though. People have mentioned his as waifu.
This is correct.
But yes, we meet Bruno, who's going to be one of the sub leaders of like the gangs. So Bruno and Giorno team up together to help take down the boss and also meet some other members of the gang, which is going to be Mista, Abacchio, Fugo, and Narancia. I think that's how you pronounce his name. And yes, we also do get a tidbit of Koichi and Jotaro too, to kind of investigate Giorno, because he's kind of like a mystery character in a sense.
And that
Can
comes
I
up,
just say
yeah.
that these characters have the horniest outfits thus far since the Pillar Men?
I'm happy that you realized.
I'm sorry, hang on. I got a question about what's currently on screen. This twink right in the dead center at the very bottom.
Narancia, yes.
Would he have a double meaning to the term very bottom?
I don't even know if his character would be a bottom.
Look at those abs.
You know what? I don't know.
Think about it, Red.
He has a lot of attitude. I don't know if he would.
Like a tsundere power bottom?
He takes slappings from Fugo a whole lot. So
I'll show him some slappings.
So possibly. Any stand-up moments you want to talk about, Beastie?
You know what fight scene I'm talking about, but the 7-page Muda,
I understand.
which in the anime, in the sub version, hearing Giorno in this specific fight scene with a very long Muda repetition is the most beautiful and like most epic fight scene I've ever heard in my life. Oh man, hearing this was the best thing of my life. This is why I love Giorno.
For me, it's the trip to Rome, the final confrontation. They're attacked by that fucking gang of hitmen, and Giorno and Mista have to take on that dude who controls the ice, and they're surrounded by water.
Oh, yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Remember that fight? That fight was the shit. And so that one stands out for me the most, followed by the fight within the helicopter.
I got a question.
That will bring us. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so Giorno, Giovanna, the JoJo's in there somewhere, and they all were related thus far. Would it be too much of a spoiler? It would be too much. Understood. They are related to the Joestar family?
Yes.
Yeah, I see. All right. 10-4.
And so on screen right now, we probably have an image of Trish. We all love Trish. Right? Trish is one of the best girls. Until Sonotion. Part 6. Manga started in January 1st, 2000, ended April 21st, 2003. This one stars Jolyne Cujoh. JoJo. And what's this one about, man?
Stone Ocean is basically it's Jolyne Cujoh, as we mentioned, who is daughter of Jotaro Cujoh. Also, the funny tidbit of this, the last name is going to be spelled a little bit different. I think by one letter or two.
By two.
For Jolyne's last name. Yeah. But mostly because of family reasons per se.
So two reasons. Well, two reasons. One being that she's Japanese American. Jotaro's have now moved stateside and they live in America. So she's half American. To anglicize her name, instead of being Kujo, it became Cujoh, anglicized format for Cujoh. Partly because of that, and she chose to go by that last name to differentiate herself from her father because she has a beef with him.
Yeah,
she has daddy issues.
She does.
You say that like you couldn't tell from her pants.
Jolyne. Go on, Beastie.
But yes, we get to meet Jolyne, who is actually being, at this point, arrested. Like literally in a quick introduction of like seeing her, she's being arrested.
Dolphin Street Gang. Thank you.
Yeah. So she
got
arrested.
Miami Dolphin Street Gang. Yeah, got it.
Yeah.
So she was being arrested because due to the boyfriend.
Yeah. Layman's terms, her boyfriend fucked her over, so she's taking a rap for it.
Yes. Oh, yes. And then from there, basically when she gets onto gets her trial and all that stuff, she's getting screwed left and right, literally because of let alone the lawyer being on the boyfriend's side, but I believe even the judge himself.
Dad knowing something's up, decides to go and deliver his daughter a gift, part of the stand arrow, so that she may prick herself and get herself a stand to protect herself in prison. And that kind of happens.
And we get to meet many very colorful characters, such as Foo Fighters. That's for a reason. And then Hermes as well, who are the best girl squad there in the whole series.
Man. Yeah, Hermes does her job. We can't sleep on. There's Narciso. And Weather Report, and Weather Report, bro.
Oh man,
because Weather Report's the shit.
Yeah, best boys.
He turned everybody in the world into snails for about a day.
Yep. reason for that will be happening in the anime manga. So read or watch that.
Wait,
Sorry,
wait.
can you repeat that?
Yeah, he turned the entire population around the world into snails. I can't we can't fully explain it because it gives away his stand and his stand power, and it's explained in there.
I think I have it. I'll ask you later.
Yeah, it goes on a level of psychological, and we can explain it later, but I don't want to ruin it here. But yeah, man, he turns the world into snails.
But if you want to know, you can again read the manga
or just
before the
wait for it, or watch it when it comes out. When it comes out,
yeah, boy. But yeah. So these guys have to. I believe that they were trying to do basically, I guess, a prison escape.
Yeah, they gotta do there's a whole lot of things going on in there. They gotta do a prison break. There's someone up there who's looking for Dio's bone or paws, and you trying to use it for his own advantages. There's a lot of crazy shit going on in this one. And this, yeah, Dio's bone in brackets are paws. But look, man, needed the bone for his own purposes. Some big shit goes down, and this is the one in the manga that ends on such a twist that leads us into other parts that we're reading and discovering new things. But this is the one that changed everything. Can't give that ending away. Again, read it or wait for the manga, the anime to come out. But yeah, man, this is gonna be interesting because I want to see if the ending is gonna be changed for the anime, keep it the same, and go forward from that. So,
but before we go into questions per se, we got the part 6 announcement for the anime. For the anime. Yeah, let's leave it at that. And so this had happened Sunday, April 4th, 2021. So that's when we got the official announcement and video live stream of that happening. So I was lucky enough to see it live streamed and all that stuff.
I went to bed. Firmly went to bed.
Yeah. But someone who got lucky enough to watch the event, also it was highly not worth the money that they were caught wanting it because many reasons.
But yeah, because they had nothing going on for the entirety of the thing until maybe the very end where they announced part 6.
Yeah. It just
you wasted $40 to $50 to sit around and watch people talk about their fun times recording stuff.
Yeah, thankfully, I didn't waste any money on this. The helpful people in the world were streaming it. Bless those accounts that did. Bless your hearts.
Thank you.
But there were many memes and many jokes that were
shared.
Yeah. Also, quick shout out or talk to you about X Forts, another YouTuber that does a big discussion about the JoJo anime and also mainly manga series. But he was he held the live action watch party, and that's how I was able to see everything. But with that, everybody was just discussing about JoJo, see hey, are we gonna get part 6 adapted, all that stuff. Yeah. And mind you, the memes were ridiculous. So long story short, the event, it was supposed to go for I think 2 hours, 2.5 at the most. This event went past 3 hours, I think close to 4. And man, the amount of jokes that people were throwing up are the ones that I'm throwing up on, that we're gonna throw up on screen here. People were being clowns or got clowned. This was truly becoming JoJo circus.
Yeah.
And there were many other memes that people or reactions people were having, such as man, this could have been in an email once we finally heard the announcement.
You gotta text me this, man.
Yeah, I'm the image that you see on the screen right now is the characters sleeping, because literally someone mentioned while this was happening, hey, I could have been sleeping through all this and then waited for tomorrow to hear this.
Yeah,
they were not wrong at all.
That whole event was nothing except for a Jolyne reveal, and that was it. Yeah. Everything else was just a waste of your time and money. But you know what? David Production, Hirohiko Araki, and the rest of the cast over there, thank you for your money and services. And don't feel like clowns. Don't feel like clowns.
Everybody else felt like it. but like,
Yeah, the whole world feel like clowns, so you're not alone. So don't feel like clowns, okay?
yeah, even a little bit of Jono felt like a bit of a clown here, but
Man,
it'd be tough like that. But thankfully, at the end of it all, get the announcement of Part 6 announced, and then get the voice actor as well, who's going to be voicing our beautiful girl, our best girl, Jolyne Cujoh.
Yeah.
Yes. So the voice actor for that is going to be Farouz. Thank you. Half Japanese, half Egyptian voice actor, which means this is the first basically African American or African Japanese voice actor.
That's right.
Which is the best thing ever, and I'm so hyped for her. But yes, yeah, she's best girl. They brought her on stage, and the whole voice acting cast of the main JoJos welcomed her into the Joestar family, and it was just the most beautiful thing ever. Like,
She sounds like her video game counterpart. That voice actress is great too, and so yeah, I just can't wait, man. She lives, bro. She lives.
Yeah.
I hope this ending, I don't know, but I wonder if the ending's gonna be different or if it's gonna stay the same. And if it does, hopefully they're going forward. Avid Productions, I hope you're listening somehow, some way. And if you are, please don't stop.
I don't have any questions. I want to thank you for leading us through this nonsense in it was very structured all the way through, and it made as much sense as you're trying to give us. So thank you for that.
No problem. Can't give away too much.
Spoiler free. We love it.
Right.
Yes.
We try. Right. I guess that's the end of that. So Beastie, I guess, if you please.
Well, you see, before he does, we reached out on Twitter. If you want to...
Yeah. So I knew there was a bit more. Go on.
If you would like to reach out to us on Twitter and be a part of the conversation here at Nerd Crusade, you can follow us at Twitter at Crusade Nerd. Just like a Girls Comic 1, who has the fortune, along with ourselves, to be part of the hashtag #InNerd Circle. Shout out for them.
What up?
They have 2 questions. Question 1 is, in which format do you recommend people start? Manga or anime?
I like to read because the anime will still cut some things out for time reasons, as where the manga you're still getting the full story. And again, the way Araki tells the story, the panels are quick, so you're not gonna be stuck looking at a page forever. You're gonna be literally reading and seeing action as it goes along, and it just moves. So read the manga, man. It really does move. Yeah,
I got into it from anime recommendation first. As when Part 5 was, I think, still airing in a kind of. So I started from the anime, then I transitioned into reading the manga. So that's how I went. But it is, again, as mentioned, better to read the manga, see the full story of the artwork, and just see how everything's fully fledged out.
Their second question is, do you think chiropractors have the most lucrative business in the JoJoverse?
I would tell you no, because if they're able to snap their backs that far back, they're able to snap them back to their normal place too. Give massive poses, man. So they're good. You see the muscle texture on those guys? Their bones are not snapping out of place, man. They're all right.
Worst case scenario, they get their stand to help out.
That's right. You said it.
That is all the questions that we received on Twitter. That's, again, if you want to be part of our conversation, you can follow us on Twitter at Crusade Nerd. With that, there is nowhere else to go except Beastie, if you please.
Oh, if you please.
On this bizarre adventure, you say? I understand. But if you'd like to hear more of anime discussions or even other discussions such as movies that we do, you make sure to hit that subscribe button so you can tune in every Wednesday, and you can catch us streaming live on Thursdays at twitch.tv/nerdcrusade. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram for updates and join our Crusader chat on Discord. The links are on screen and in the description. You can download any previous episodes or listen on your mobile device through anchor.fm or search Nerd Crusade on your favorite podcast app. And thank you for joining us. And until next time, fellow Crusaders.
That's to be continued.
Thanks for tuning in. If you like this video, go ahead and button mash a thumbs up. If you want to swing by when we have a new video, web up the sub button. Oh, and while you're at it, hit the bell to be notified by...